There we go. Good morning, everybody. This is our third webinar for this semester. Today, I want to cover two things. One is to introduce you to basic principles of HTML and also get you started with your Wix.com website, those two things. There is a recording of this lecture from last semester that's on Canvas. So already, so if you decide that you can't stick around or you don't want to stick around, that will be available, and I should be covering pretty much the same thing. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Before I begin my lecture, though, are there any questions from you? Do you have anything that you want to ask me? You can ask to speak, or you can put it in the chat, or if you like, you can put it in a Q&A. There's the Q&A. I'll put that up there. Okay. No? Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen. No, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to share my screen. There we go. I clicked on the wrong button here. There we go. Share. Okay. So basic principles and history of HTML. That's where I'd like to begin. HTML was invented, if you want to call it that, developed about 1989 by a fellow by the name of Tim Berners-Lee. He was a research scientist in CERN, Switzerland. And the reason that he developed it is because he wanted to easily share research papers with other scientists around the globe. And so web design, as we know it, was not its original intention. It was Tim Berners-Lee wanted everybody to have access to basically what you would do in an English or history class is a research paper. And so that's was its original intent, but that was quite a while ago now. And so it has become much, much more than that. And we're focusing this semester mostly on developing something that's graphically rich. But today we're going to start with something that's just very, 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 very basic. So in order to be able to publish this using a browser, and that's how these web pages are rendered in a browser, you can use pretty much any program to do this. You don't need Dreamweaver. You don't need Wix. You don't need MobiRise. You don't need anything but simple text document. And so that's what we're going to start with today. And to render the page in a browser, what he has done is he's used a series of elements that define the syntax of the page. So, for example, if you think of and I wish this was my simile, but it's not. Think of a web page or the syntax that's used for HTML. And we use HTML5, by the way, like a sandwich. Okay. In order to build a sandwich, at least in our Western culture here, you need to start with two pieces of bread. So that would be the opening and closing tag for HTML itself. And you'll notice on my screen here that I have an opening tag that's defined by an opening left bracket, left, what do they call it, caret, and a right caret. And so that's the opening tag, HTML. And at the very end of the page is a closing tag. And it looks almost the same as the opening tag, but it has a backspace inside the left and the right caret. Okay, so those are your two pieces of bread. Then within that you want your meat, and you want your cheese, and you want the body of the sandwich. Maybe no mustard or relish or anything. That would be the body of the page. And you'll notice that I have an opening tag and a closing tag for the body of the page. But then let's say, in addition to the meat and the cheese and that sort of thing, that you want some other things that add zest or taste to the to your sandwich, like mustard, like relish, like maybe some lettuce and tomatoes and things like that. Well, that would be in the head of your document, and that comes right after the opening tag of the opening HTML tag. So we have an opening tag for the head, and we have a closing tag for the head. And you'll notice that I have one element in here already. And if you want the title of your page that would be visible in the browser, then again, it's defined by an opening tag and a closing tag. So here's the title, the opening tag for the title of the page, and the closing tag that are wrapped around the name. And this is what we have named here, first page. Now, within the body of contained within the body tags here, I have some text. It says my first, web page, and web design is fun, ... and easy. Okay, very simple. I should let you know too that what I am doing. Let me pause for a second here and let you know what I'm using to create this. And I'm using TextEdit on a Macintosh. And in order to do this in TextEdit, you need to go to Preferences. And by default, it generally has, for a new document, for example, it has rich text. It's selected. You want plain text. You want to make sure that almost everything is unchecked so that you can save this as an HTML page. I have Show Ruler, which is kind of nice. Opening and saving, you want to make sure that, I don't want that everything is unchecked here. You don't want to preserve white space. You don't want to display HTML files as HTML or anything. You just want the plainest text possible. So you will uncheck everything. You'll close TextEdit, and you'll open it back up. And then this is what you see. Okay. I've already saved this. It's the first page. It's my second version. So to save it, you just go to File and you go to Save. And because it's already been saved, I added the HTML to that extension. It will not add it for you. Okay. So now that it's saved, I can go ahead and I can bring in a browser here. So I'm going to go ahead up here. And let's see. I'll go ahead and pull this down like so. And I'm going to go File, Open. Okay, Open File. And I need to find that page on my desktop. So I'm going to go on my desktop because that's where I saved it. And I have Art 196. And these are my full files right here. Okay. So this is the second page. I can use the first or the whatever. So when I open it in a browser, you can see in the upper left-hand corner, it's really kind of small. Let me go ahead and make it bigger for you so you can see. It says my first web page. Web design is fun and easy. Well, if you remember a moment ago, I'll leave this up here. I had this on multiple, I had this on 2 lines. So you'll notice back in the day, or with when you publish this without any further markup, it wants to conserve on space, and it doesn't see any break in any lines or any paragraphs or anything else. So that's where we have to add additional tags or additional markup. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some very basic markup for this. So for example, where it says my first page, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in a very basic HTML tag, which would be a paragraph tag. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the left caret, put in a P, put in a right caret, and then you don't have to put a space in there, but I like it so I can see it a little bit better. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in the closing tag. Okay, so this now defines my first web page as a paragraph. And then I'll go ahead and I'll do the same for the second line. So that's a second paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in an opening tag for P. And then at the end of the sentence, I'll put in a closing tag for the paragraph. P. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to come back to the page that I just saved, and I'm going to go ahead and just simply refresh it. So let me go ahead and click the refresh button here. And now you can see it's on two separate lines. But again, it's just basic text. And while it is unformatted, the default for most browsers is using Times Roman for the font, and then the color is black. And this would be an unformatted web page, very basic. So let's do a few other things to this. Let's decide that I want my first web page to be the title of my document. Well, in order to distinguish the title, which generally is bigger and bolder, and text will continue to use the same font, but just bigger and bolder, then we use a series of heading tags. That's not to be confused with the head, but heading tags. Heading tags range from 1 to 6, and then we have also our paragraph tag that I just used. These generally, the heading tags are part of the syntax of HTML. H1 tags, as they're known, are reserved for probably the most important element on your page. Generally the title of the page or the title of your document or something of that nature. And then similar to what you would use in an outline for a paper, as elements become less important then, or with less emphasis, I should say, then you would use an H2 or an H3 tag. I generally never use anything less than that. It gets just too small, although you can redefine those tags using CSS, which is cascading style sheets. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do that. So instead of a paragraph tag, I'm going to put in an H1 here. So make that really big, H1. And let's add the closing tag, H1. So that would be, remember I said for our heading tags, H1 would be reserved for the most important element on your page. And now I can come back down here and let's go ahead and let's refresh the page again. And you can see that it recognizes that tag as being, a little different, actually considerably different than a paragraph tag. Okay, so that would be the first thing that maybe we'd want to do. In addition to that, let's do a few other things here. You'll notice that web design is fun, ... And then there's several spaces and easy, and it closes all of that up. Well, there are a number of tags. There are a little over 100 tags that are available for us that you'll become familiar with. And one of the basic tags that are used for non-breaking space, it can be old school would be ampersand NBSP semicolon. A semicolon in coding is similar to a period in when you're typing English. So another way of doing that is also an ampersand, and then I'm going to use the octothorpe or hashtag or whatever you want to call it, 160, and semicolon. Whoops, semicolon. Make sure that I do that correctly. Semicolon. Now that adds one space. So if I want multiple spaces, let's say 5 or 6 more spaces, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that. And right afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and paste, 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 paste. Okay. So there you go. Now, why that is after the P tag, I don't know. That should not be there. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And I'm going to put that back in here. And I'm going to paste again. There we go. Okay, so I've added some spaces. Now let's bring the page back down again. I'll make sure that I save this. And let's come back again. So I save again. And now let's go ahead and refresh. And notice that it added those extra spaces between fun, ... and easy. So for every little thing that you want to do in web design, you have to add the appropriate tag for your website. And wait a minute, that's not right. That should be, oh, you know what? There's something that's missing here. Web design is fun and easy. Let's go back up here and let's come back down here and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So this is getting a little bit too big here. So I'm going to go to view and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and you're probably going to be hard for you to see. Okay. There we go. Let me zoom back in just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. It's kind of getting a little bit difficult for me to see on my screen here. So let me go ahead and enlarge this a little bit and move this over. Okay. So a couple of other things that maybe you want to do. For example, what if I wanted the word fun to be bold? So again, in order to distinguish that text from the rest, again, you need to add a tag. And to make it bold, you add what is called a strong tag. Now, I'm just covering some of the basic tags here, but in your textbook on pages 57, 58, and 59, you will find close to 100 tags available for you that you'll be using fairly frequently. Do you need to memorize them right now? No. But the more you use them, the more you pay attention to them, they will become almost second nature to you. And if you do a lot of web design, they will become second nature. So for example, I mentioned the strong tag. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, strong. Why it's called that, I don't know. And then I'll go ahead and I'll add that at the end of fun. And I'm going to put the closing tag. And let's go ahead and save it. And let's come back to our browser here. And let's go ahead and refresh it. And there you can see that fun is now bold. Well, another example would be, well, what if I want and easy to be italicized? Well, that I could use an M tag for emphasis. The other thing that you might note, and you can't see on my screen because it's very small, but in the tab where I had the title, I put that in the head of the document, it's right here, it's first page. That's where the title of the pages are listed. Okay, and you'll notice that there are a few other things in browsers that we will get to later this semester. for example, that you may want to have your own little logos up here. These are called favicons, and we will, learn how to create those and stuff like that. Those are sort of like icing on the cake. So I'm going to come back up in here, and similar to what I had done before, I'm going to go ahead and now for and easy, if I want that to be italicized, I'm going to go ahead and put in an M tag. So EM for emphasis, and right after easy, I'm going to go ahead and put the closing tag. Okay, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to come back to the browser, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh it. And there you can see, and easy is now italicized. So there's a variety of other things that we can do too, that as you become accustomed to HTML, and there's various things that you want to do. Most of the programs that we use do this automatically. You don't have to go into the code yourself, but when we're working in Dreamweaver, I strongly recommend that you have a split view, which I'll show you in a minute, and that you focus both on the final version, or the visible, what you're going to see rendered in the browser, but also look at the code as well to get an idea of how all of this is structured and organized, and to make sure that the proper syntax is used. So in addition to this, there might be one more thing that we want to add, and I will call it quits for this. But one of the things that we might want to do is we might want to add a list. So one of the things that we have, and I'll put it in the second paragraph here. So I'm going to go in right after and easy. I'm going to go ahead and hit the return key. And I'm going to come back over here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in its own paragraph. So this will be its own paragraph. I'm going to put a list. Okay. So there's different kinds of lists. I'm going to use something called an unordered list. So again, there is a tag associated with lists. So that would be the left caret UL for unordered list. And then in lists, you have what are called list items. So the first list item that I'm going to have would be LI. That's the opening tag. And actually, I should, right after that, I'm going to put the closing tag for the unordered list so that I don't forget. So that would be the closing tag, UL. And for our list item, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put, let's say this is a grocery list. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in potatoes. And now I need to put in the closing tag for list item. Let's see. There we go. Now we have another list item, and I'll put in potato, kind of have potatoes on my mind, huh? With soup. So let's go ahead and put in another list item. And we'll go ahead and we'll put a closing tag. And we'll put in a third item. And I'm going to put in chocolate. Why not? That'll be in here. How do you spell chocolate? Chocolate. Right? And I'll put the closing tag there. Okay, so I have my opening tag, my closing tag, and I have within that unordered list, I have several list items within the list. And so I'll go ahead and I'll save it. And let's bring our rendered page back down here. I'm going to refresh. And there you go. Notice what it did. It recognizes that this is a list and it uses bullet points to define the list. And lists, the reason I did this, are commonly used in web pages. Web design generally isn't a place where you place 10,000 word essays, not anymore anyway. But if you want to keep, eyeballs on your page, that you keep the content short and to the point, and oftentimes unordered lists are used. Now, if you would rather, order, have it ordered and in numerical order, we can do that too. So instead of an unordered list, I could use an ordered list. So I can go ahead and instead of OL or UL, I'll use OL for the opening and closing tag. Okay, and I'll save that. And I'll bring this back down. And let's go ahead and refresh the page. You'll notice that it automatically switches from bullet points to numerals. So if I were to, add another list item, it would be not automatically know that it should be number 4, or it would add another bullet point. You'll notice that the head of the document and the opening and closing tags for HTML are invisible. But you don't need anything special to create a basic web page. I'm just using text edit, or you can, I think on the PC it's called simple text or something like that, to build your website. But understand that that there is a specific syntax that's used for web pages, and you will get acclimated to that soon enough. Similar to when you're writing a document or for maybe a client, or for you're writing an essay for your English class, or a research paper for your history class. Paragraphs are to be indented in certain ways. They're to have semicolons at certain places and periods at certain places, that sort of thing. It's all part of the syntax of the English language. And that's what we're doing here with HTML, that we're learning basic syntax that is used, and tags that we see that define how that page is structured and the visibility of the page. Okay, so I'm going to check in with you now, and I'm going to see if there are any questions from you. So that's HTML in a nutshell. There are some additional tags that we will be talking about soon enough that are new to HTML5. Some HTML4 tags have been deprecated. They just no longer exist. Let's see. So nothing in the chat, nothing in the Q&A. So we're all good? Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm going to put text edit aside, and I'm opening up here Dreamweaver. So this is what the lessons in the textbook start with. So I want to cover this a little bit just to show you what's going on in a web page in Dreamweaver. So I'll start with a brand new file. This is one of the first completed lessons that we will do, I think in lesson 7. So this is down the road a little bit, but one of the finished pages that has been marked up with HTML5 tags. And we've also added a CSS cascading style sheet to it that also governs the appearance of it and the structure, so that we can add images and we can format our text in various ways and add links and that sort of thing with hover states and all that good stuff. But again, I'm just going to start in here with a brand new file. And I want it to be a new document. And I just want a simple HTML. And you notice that when I do that in Dreamweaver, I can add the title here rather than, so I'll say this is, I'll put it first page in Dreamweaver. And if you want to go backwards to an older version, you can do that. You could go all the way back to HTML1 or 4 or transitional or, strict or whatever. Okay. And if you want to add, attach a CSS, a style sheet here, you can do that. But we're not doing that yet. We'll do it later, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new page. And you can see it's just a blank sheet of paper, pretty much what I had before in TextEdit. But the important difference to note is that I'm viewing this in split view. If I just look at this in code view, you can see that it has already added code to the page. Let me see if I can't zoom in a little bit more. There you go. So you can see this a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So you can note anytime you see this at the very start, where it has the left caret and right caret, and it says exclamation point doc type HTML, that indicates that we are using HTML5. But you'll notice here is, our sandwich already created for us, or at least the basics of it. We haven't added much. But when I created that new document, you'll notice that it added a title, and notice where it is located. It's in the head of the document. Okay, so here's the opening and the closing tag for the head. We already have an opening and the closing tag for the body. And here is the closing tag for HTML. So it's already in place. Now, if I go back here and I look at this in split view, I can either build my page starting within that. You notice that the body is already highlighted. So I'm going to say this is, my first page. In Dreamweaver. And as I add it up here in the live page section, it's automatically adding it down here in the code view because I have split view visible. Okay, and I don't need this here. I don't need that additional space here. But as soon as I come up here, watch, and I hit the return key, notice that it automatically placed my first, and I can't spell first. I'm a horrible typist, and I am a horrible proofreader. And I will show you some, one of the problems that can arise if you don't pay really close attention. But you'll notice that it automatically added a paragraph tag to my first page in Dreamweaver, and it left a space here for my second. As soon as I hit the return key, I can either add here, and I'm going to type it in code view this time. I'll put web design is fun, ... and easy. Okay. I'll put an exclamation point this time. Okay, notice that it's automatically, as I added it in code view, it's also putting it up here in live view as well. And if I were to save this right now, it will automatically save it as an HTML file. And when you save your HTML files, use the same system that we talked about last week when we were creating images that were compatible for the web or optimized for the web. You don't want to start the page names with any capital letters. You don't want any spaces between words unless there's an underscore. Don't use any special characters, things like that. If I want, for example, let's say I want this fun to be bold. Let's see if I can do that here. I have the properties panel, and it's not, let's look at here. I'm going to go in here instead. I'm going to go in live view and highlight that. There we go. And properties panel looks a little bit different. Okay. Now, I don't have a class associated with this. I've already have a title for the page. But there isn't really much that I can do unless I add a CSS style sheet to this. What I can do here, if I want, is that I could add an unordered list. But that's pretty much it for right now. You'll notice that the paragraph, the format is in paragraph. Let's say if I say this is my first page in Dreamweaver, if I want that to be an H1 tag, I can highlight that, and then under format, instead of a paragraph tag, you notice I can specify H1 as I did before. And there you go. It switched from a P tag to an H1 tag, just like I had done manually. So you can go back and forth with this. You can work in live view, which you will do often, and you will work in code view. Oftentimes when things aren't looking quite right, what you will need to do is you will need to go ahead and you'll need to look in the code view to troubleshoot. So for example, earlier, let's see if I can get this to fail. Because earlier I had forgotten to put the right caret in the paragraph, and I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to come back up to this, and I'm going to refresh the page and see if I can't get it to fail. Yeah, notice that it moved that over, and the rest is okay. Web design is fun and easy. But let me go ahead again and let's remove. Sometimes when you eliminate parts of the code, like if I forget the entire closing tag here, it will not be visible at all. Let's go ahead and refresh and see what happens. No, it's actually working because I think it's, which is unusual. And that shouldn't, because I've left some stuff out here. So let me go back and see if I can't undo some of that, just to make sure that I have that correct. And make sure that it's all saved and I'm set to go. Okie doke. So that's pretty much it for HTML today. We've covered this in about 40 minutes. It's a very quick overview. You should be reading chapter 2 for this to get familiar with it, and go ahead and try to do the same little exercise that I did for you today. And starting Thursday, we will continue with Wix, our Wix website, and we'll also start with chapter 3, CSS basics. So if there aren't any questions, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch now to Wix, which will be your first assignment as we're doing the lessons in the book. No questions? No? Okie doke. So let me come back up here to my, I'm going to go ahead and open up a browser, and I'm going to go to my Wix webpage, and that's right here. So the first thing that you need to do, it's taking a minute to load the page. That's not good. So I created a new account. So just go to wix.com and you're going to create an account with them, and you'll have to verify it with an email. So what I want to do is I want to create a new site with this, okay? So that's the first thing that it asks me to do, create your first site. So create new site here. And there are a variety of ways to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's going to ask me, what kind of website do you want to create? Is this for business? Is this an online store, photography, designer? Okay. Let's do it for, could be portfolio and CV. That's really the way we're structuring most of these. But if you're a photographer, you could select that. If you're a graphic designer, you can select that. You can always change the template that they offer. Let's try photography. Let's go ahead and try that and see what different kinds of templates they have available for us. So there are quite a few. You know, you can scroll through them here, and we can go, you know, to any number of these and see which one we think are the best. My approach to web design, as it is in graphic design, is sort of a minimalist approach. I fundamentally like a nice big image for my splash page. Then in subsequent pages, then I will add more detail. So for example, this one here, let's go ahead and view this one. Okay. So this is Adam Cant, photographer. You'll notice it has a navigation at the top, a nice splashy image that grabs my attention. So what I can do is I can go ahead and I can edit this. Now it takes me to my content for my page. And it's going to take a couple of minutes for it to get it going here. There we go. So now you can see there's a variety of elements that I have here that if I look at menus and pages, that we already have a home page. We have an about page. And within that that about page, there is contact information. There is a portraits page, a fashion page, client showcase. So you can add or you can subtract each of these. Book online. So there's, they've added elements to this. Well, let's focus on the home page right now. Okay. And what I want to do is we can go to, we can rename it, we can duplicate it, we can copy it. So you're going to have to kind of grope your way around through this to see what, you know, how the structure of this goes. But they've already built a basic website for you. Now, it may work in accordance with what you want to do or not. Now, notice that they have added in this home page here, what I want to do is I want to select this element and I want to, it says, this is site deck gallery. So if you want to start your splash page with a gallery, then that's what we can do. We can change images just by clicking on it. Okay. So by clicking on it, let's go ahead and let's change an image here. And you'll notice that they already have 4 images for us. We can add images. I can go ahead and I can click on this one. And let's go ahead and let's see, I'm going to go ahead and double click. I want to replace the image. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here with that one selected. And it's going to ask me, where am I going to get this? Well, I need to upload it from my website. And that's why I had you guys start learning how to optimize images for the page. What you might want to do is check out the sizes of these, but for large images like this, you might want 2000 by 1200 pixels about. For smaller images, you know, I'm going to go ahead and upload, you might want 1200 by 760 or 720. So I need to go into my documents page, and I'm going to look for some images that I use. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and I have images that I use for my gallery. So let me select this one and see if it works. I'm going to switch to columns so I can see this a little bit better. So again, documents, I got to scroll down to the gallery. I don't want that image, but let me go through here. Let's select some of these. Maybe this one. This might be a good one to use. Or not. Let's go back here. I'm trying to make this interesting for you guys. This will be the one that I want to use. I'm going to go ahead and choose this image here. Okay. Now it will only allow you to choose JPEGs, GIFs, or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, or PNGs. As I mentioned, for most photographic images, JPEGs will work just fine. More often than not now, PNGs are used. So I'll go ahead and I'll pick that one. And it's uploading the file. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and choose image. And notice that I've replaced the old with a new, and that's what you're going to do with yours. So let's say done. Let's refresh. Ta-da! I just created my first splash page. So now what I will be doing is you're, working with your website, your Wix page. I'm going to be creating a new one for myself. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it. Okay. And we'll call it free Wix domain. This is https://kirkmillerart.wix.com. And we'll call it my site 1. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and save and continue. And if you want to publish it now, you can. I don't want to publish it just yet. But maybe one of the other things that I want to do is I want to change, instead of Adam Cantor, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the text. And I'm going to put Kirk Miller Art. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. I have my home page, about page. I'll probably change this from portraits to new work. And I might get rid of the fashion page, or I might use this as a resume. Client showcase, I may get rid of, and book online. Why not? We can go ahead and leave that for the time being. But I'm set to go. And then you're going to want to look at all the individual elements too. Notice that they have little, for those of you who have social media, you can go ahead and you're going to want to change, set the links for the social media too. You don't want to leave the default settings. Likewise, at the bottom here in the footer, and I'll talk about more on Thursday, the basic structure of a web page and to its basic components or elements. In the footer where we put copyright information, instead of Adam Cant, I'm going to go ahead and put my own name in here. So let's go ahead and edit the text. So I'm going to go ahead and by clicking edit text, I can come in here and I'll just put 2021 by Kirk Miller. Okay, I can close it. Notice that that's paragraph 3. And so they're already adding tags. I'll go ahead and save again. No, I don't want to publish yet, but I'm done. So I'm done for today. Okay. But that's to get you started. And you'll have to grope around here. That if you want to change the background image from a simple white, background as I have here, and you want a nice big splashy colored, image for your background with some text on it. I don't think that would work in this instance, but you can do that. If you want to add elements, so let's go ahead and close that. Let's look at the next part. I want to add. What do I want to add? If you want to add a script to this page, you can do that. So this could, instead of having multiple pages, this could be a single page website with all the elements. Here's the theme manager. So we can go ahead here. And what this does is it controls the basic colors for your site. Right now, this is a grayscale. I mean, I kind of like that, especially for photography. I don't know that I would want pink here for the hover state. So maybe I would want to go back in and I want to change that color. I'd have to go back in and figure out, where do I go to change that? And you're going to have to hunt and peck through here. Okay. Media, if you want to add media to this, here you have a video maker. Here's the photo studio, basically what we've done here. You can also add here additional social media tags. You can have Google Drive, you have Instagram, you have Facebook. Okay. And then you have to take the default elements by clicking on them and editing them. Like if I say I want to set social links, I click here. So here we have for Twitter. And again, if I select this, I can go ahead and you'll notice to the right, it says Twitter Classic. And then what you're going to do, or what I would have to do here, is what social page does this connect to? I would have to put in the one that connects to my particular Twitter account. And I don't have one anymore, really. And I don't have Facebook anymore, and I don't have Instagram. I don't participate in any social media pretty much anymore. And just go down the line. And all of these pages can be edited and changed till the cows come home, as much as you want. Okay. So does that get you where we need to be for today? We have a little bit of a background on HTML, get you started so that you have kind of an understanding of what's going on here. And if we were to open this page in Dreamweaver, we would pretty much get what we're looking at here, only it would be considerably more complex as the structure of the page gets more complicated. But that's where we're headed today. That's what we've done. No questions? If there aren't any questions, I'll probably pause the video and take questions. So let me pause the recording, Zoom recording here. So there aren't any questions from any of you, so you're welcome to leave. And as I said, in a short amount of time, a couple of hours, I will have this posted on YouTube for you to review, or for those who are unable or don't want to attend the live webinars and have access to them. Okay, so you guys are free to leave, and I will stop recording now and say goodbye until Thursday, and see all of you then. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.